burning desire and moving toward. That's, the keys to success. It's hard to say. A key to me is nothing more than something to use to unlock the lock inside of you. Because these keys of moving forward, this is okay. I got this key. I need to search for the appropriate lock. And the lock is somewhere inside of me. All that information and that guidance is there. And so I think that's the problem that a lot of people have when they're looking for the secrets to success or for the keys to this, the keys to that. The key isn't the answer. The key is allowing you to unlock that part of you that you can move forward to get to the good stuff.
Lefford, would you speak to? I love what you're saying. I'm 45 years Napoleon Hill, and in the article that you read, actually it's more than 45 years now. I've been saying 45 years for a long time. Anyway, in the article that I read about your 3 keys to success, you were in your early. You were 21 years old. You said, but here's what I want to ask you to talk about for a minute. Many of the listeners are completely stuck. They're not finding their keys. Now, I know, and you know, that the keys are going to be found through meditation, prayer, and trying to get to the infinite intelligence to seek the answers and get into that. But would you give some of your own life background as you were struggling? I'm asking you to do something that you've already done all the time, but tell your story in a way that some of these people that are stubborn as heck, stubborn as they're headstrong. They're so headstrong that they don't trust anybody, and they want to come out of that place they're at, but they won't listen to a mentor. They don't want to have anybody to tell them what to do because they've been hurt so much in their life. How did you finally submit to Sergeant Gunther?
Well, a couple of things, Steve. One was what I was doing wasn't working.
Yeah, that's kind of obvious with these people, huh? Including me and
sometimes you gotta, yeah, but sometimes you gotta stop. Sometimes you gotta stop. It's so simple. It is so simple. Ask yourself this question. Don't delude yourself. Don't let anybody gas you up or fool you. Stop for a second and ask yourself the question. Is what I'm doing working for me? Do I have what I want out of life? Am I moving in the direction that I really want? Am I hurting me or am I hurting someone else in what I'm doing? Just stop and ask that question.
But Lefford,
let me finish this one thought.
Okay, go. All right.
A wise sage once says this: if you find yourself in a hole, the first thing you do is stop digging. First thing. And then you seek a way to climb out. But go ahead with your thought. I'm sorry.
No. This is me and you. This is the way we do it. Lefford, what about these people that will not stop? They're just so far deep into the muck and the mire that they're dwelling in that they're not stopping. So what's a suggestion for people that are that far into it that they're into addictions, they're into really a lot of stuff? Take a really hard case here, Lefford. What would be one way if you're the toughest guy in the world as a counselor, and they're going to give you the guy that everybody said nobody can reach this guy? What's a suggestion that you can offer that somebody can look in that mirror and finally stop because they've heard Lefford speak today?
Well, there's a couple of things. One, unfortunately, unless somebody's ready to hear, I hate to use this, unless they reach their bottom or what they feel their bottom is, they're not going to. One of the things I love about the Lord, I love many things. He is always there ready for us to invite him in. He is not going to bum rush us because he knows, and all of us know, that a person will not change unless they're ready to change. My dad used to say it a lot better. He said, you can lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink, but you can make him thirsty. So what I would do if I was counseling someone or talking to someone or somebody's listening to me right now, I'd ask them to, even in the midst of your pain, the midst of your struggle, the midst of your confusion, stop and ask yourself, are you getting out of life what you want? And just,
well, that's asking them to be honest. That's asking them to be honest.
That's fine. And sometimes they do. But even with that, help them pause. Because, people get see, action is good, but it's forward moving action. You got to be moving, but you can move in the wrong direction. Sometimes you have to, so it's not this or that, it's this and that. Sometimes we're going in the wrong direction. We have to stop. We have to pivot. We have to change direction. But every once in a while, we have to pause. I mean, it actually says it. It says, in my favorite book, it talks about stop, go into your quiet place, into your closet, close the door, and commune, to meditate, to think. You have to stop and pause and ask yourself this question. Am I getting what I want out of life? Am I doing the right stuff? Am I hurting me or anybody else? If you can pause there for a second and just think, and then this is another question, you will remember this from Designing Your Empowered Year. Would it be okay is if I stopped here and moved towards a better way? Would it be okay? What would happen to me if the things that I wanted in life I can have? What would happen is if I wanted something, wanted it bad enough, what would happen if that came into my life? That's what I think I would tell the hardest dude or dudette in the world. Just stop and ask that question. And then surround yourself with the right people. Because the reality is, and the right people don't have to be alive. The right people don't have to be alive. You can get books, you can get audio tapes, you can get magazines, you can go into the word of the Bible. You can find good things and then study and be with that. But you have to, I think, get into an environment where you're reaching for the good stuff, not running from the bad stuff.
Lefford, let me back you up for a minute here. Everything you're saying is the gospel. Everything you're saying is absolutely true. And one of the points that you're saying is, you got to stop, you got to take inventory of yourself, and then you got to take action to start making changes, surrounding yourself with people, et cetera. But we're talking to the hardest core people right now. And what I want to ask you is, when Sergeant Gunther, when he told you that you're more than who you are behaving like, and that he believed in you, and that helped you learn to believe in yourself, I want to tell a really quick story from a movie that I want to recommend called Unbroken: Path to Redemption. And did you see it?
Yeah, Unbroken, yes.
Did you see the sequel, Path to Redemption? It just came out.
No.
Oh well, it's where he meets Billy Graham, and he met Billy Graham because of his wife that was a godly woman, and he went into Billy Graham 2 or 3 times during that revival, and he kept walking out because he didn't want it yet. And so she finally said to him when he refused to go back, she wanted to tell him the story, and they had a 2-year-old daughter. And she said, I want to tell you a story that I see. And what she said was basically, your daughter is 15 years old, and she brings a boy home from school, and you happen to be there because she's so embarrassed that no one ever gets to meet you because you're such a hopeless drunk. And she's so ashamed of you. But you happen to be sitting there when she brings this boy home, and you start talking to this boy and just getting all into your stuff, and she wants to die. You have embarrassed your daughter to the point to where she doesn't want to ever have anybody know you. And then she said to him, is that what you want to do with your life, is to have it end up in a place like that where your daughter that you love the most in this world wants to die because she doesn't want anybody to ever get to know who her father is? He went to see Billy Graham and fell on his knees after that experience. And so that's just an example of something where, we have to confront people sometimes with the truth in a way that they get to where we can help them see that lowest point that they're not recognizing, that they are probably almost at, but not quite there. Maybe there's a way that we can help them experience it so that they decide to make that decision.
That's wonderful. I'll tell you, and you'll get this, and you're going to think, when I'm doing my sharing with the next lesson on module 4, and it talks to that whole feedback thing. I think the difference between that, what you're talking, which is, it's a movie and it's appropriate. The difference between what that wife did and what John Gunther, now Chief Gunther, did for me is that he came to me with love because he saw something in me I didn't see in myself. He saw me in pain. He saw me hurting. And see, one of the things I think when we look at people, we see them in their brokenness and we see broke people. What John Gunther did was he saw somebody that was in a broken experience, but he saw a whole person. And he showed me, there's a merciless mirror and then there's a loving mirror. He showed me the best part of me, not the worst part of me. And sometimes, personally, this is me, I knew I was hurting. I knew I was broken. I knew I was worthless. He said, that's a lie. I believe that if you show somebody their brokenness, they're not going to heal. I believe that I need to show people that they're loved, whose they are, that they are forgiven, that they are wanted, they're desired, they are loved. And that is the way through that, is in my opinion.
It's beautiful, Lefford. Lefford, the definition of poverty, part of it is the state of being inferior in quality or insufficient in amount, the poverty of her imagination. Synonyms are scarcity, deficiency, dearth, shortage, insufficiency, absence, lack. There's other things. But Lefford, I think that what we're talking about so far on the poverty of fear is focusing mostly on how we can help people that want to help others that are going through poverty, how we approach them, how we might give them a wake-up call, how we might motivate them to start to look at themselves and make a change. But let me reverse it, Lefford. Let's go back to 21-year-old Lefford that met Chief Gunther, Sergeant Gunther then, Chief Gunther now. What I'm trying to say is this. If I was a person that is going through these scarcities, this self-doubt, all these other things, this barrenness of my spirit, I'm not sure that I'm ready to change yet from the conversation that you and I are having right now. And the reason is I want to relate more. I would like, if you're willing to do this, to go deeper into what your life was like so that some of these people that really need to make these changes recognize that you were no different than the way they are now, and that you rose to, in your own words, the top of the greatest Air Force in the world. And so you are one of the greatest turnaround success stories that I know, but every one of us are that's in that poverty place where I said it on the sharing call yesterday. You know, I was in Colorado when I was 1974, 23 years old, and I didn't share all the things that I was involved in, but a police officer pulled me over, and after all the stuff that happened while he pulled me over, he gave me a tremendous break because I spoke with him, and he ended up saying to me he was going to let me go from what he was going to take me in for, and it wasn't one thing, it was multiple things. I mean, that's where my life was. I was traveling around, but what he said to me was, if you keep wallowing in the muck, one day your knees are going to buckle. So Lefford, I've been there, you've been there, people that are listening to the show have been there in their own way, and some people that are like white collar people, so to speak, they are deeper in the muck than they even have a clue. You said something on the phone with me yesterday when we were talking that I shared an experience with a situation that I'm involved in, and you said, does the person even know that they're doing that? That is that which is so wrong. And I said no, and you went, well, that's the worst thing is when they don't even know they're doing wrong. So Lefford, pick up on anything you want to there, but I'd like for some people to look at you and say, Lefford Fate, he is my role model on what he came from and where he ended up. I want to be like Lefford.
Well, I would say first and foremost, reach higher instead of reaching for this guy. But